you could do good in your business life for a minute, but it's not going to last long if you can't do well in your personal life. And your personal life is always going to hand you adversity and obstacles for the rest of your life. And it's the way that you handle those that dictates the level of success that you're going to be able to have and the people around you are going to be able to enjoy.
Varsity King's second episode appearance with Simon Arias, I believe. This is his second appearance. This is my mentor, my coach. I don't know. I think, like, out of respect for you, I try to say, like, older brother opposed to, like, a father figure. So I get, sometimes it's a lot of the father figure, but sometimes, you know, you've got that humor and relatability where it's like, this dude's like a brother in a sense. And I don't even like saying dude, too, because I got so much respect. This is not a bro or a dude. This is somebody that's literally took my life from nothing and really brought a lot of value. And a lot of people, I think, would immediately go to the money, and it's multiple 7 figures of gross income I've made since being 18 years old and involved in the insurance industry and working for Simon. But I would say I would be most proud of my spiritual influence I've had from you. You know, just the accountability with Proverbs and church and the genuine. You know, it's one thing to say it and do it and post it, but to really live it and feel it. And I see it resonate in my family. Me and my sister grew up in the church, but I think it keeps us, it's good to have that iron sharpens iron. So I would say that would probably be my most proud thing, because I know this world is going to come and go, but eternity's forever. So that's something I'm very excited about. I'm very thankful for. When it comes to Simon, I would highlight that the most, even over all the money he's helped me made. And then we got Justin Maska, our top performer and top leader out here, and a brother in a sense as well. So I'm still grasping that awkwardly, but I would not want another man to be dating my sister other than you. So that's a massive compliment, you know, especially coming from somebody like myself. That I take that very serious. So, and outside of that, though, most importantly,
him in the beginning.
Yes, we did. We were going to hog time.
You, Justin?
Yeah, you did.
And when they came to me, I was like, my sister. One of my sisters always, even if she got the short end of the stick.
If he passed that, he really cares about her.
That dog, and that's when I knew it was like something real. Because one, you know, I can get her to budge on some things, but some things, like, she's the boss. So it's unfortunate. You know what I mean? Like, before I was 18, maybe we could, you know, fight about it, but now it's like we're not gonna fight over it. So I knew it was legit. I knew it was serious, and you know, he was always respectful and humble and kind and very persistent. And now you've seen that transpire into results. You're gonna make close to $500,000 this year. So now I know, you know, if she's ever sad, at least, you know, she can go out and get some Louis. So man, I'm grateful to be in between both of you and doing this episode right now. So let's start with, I want to open up with Simon, and just if you haven't, you know, heard Simon's story, just a quick recreate the image of your story, and just kind of give that back to everybody so they just know where you come from, what got you into insurance, and why. What's your why?
When people say what got you into the insurance industry, I tell them the grace of God. I don't think anybody sits in a classroom, you know, in high school or college and is like, man, on my vision board one day, I'd like to sell life insurance. You know what I mean? This is the vision. And unless you're around people that have done it, you know, or you're in a family where people have done it successfully, it's usually not the first thing on your mind. And so for me, I was going to be doing real estate. I had my real estate license. I passed my real estate exam while I was in college. I was game planning on moving down to Florida. The majority of my family moved from Youngstown, Ohio, down to Florida, and that was the game plan. And in college, one of our classes, I had to put a resume online and had to prove that you did an interview and go through the whole experience. And that experience led me to Cleveland, Ohio, where I interviewed with my mentor and met both of my mentors in the initial phases, which was Marcus Smith and Jim Serace. And those two were the perfect recipe, you know, for me. And something in my heart told me that it was real, you know. And my mother she's been like, you know, when I look back on my career of what happened in the first year when I had tough calls and tough things to do and tough decisions to make, she was the complete opposite of what I've watched most parents do with their children in the industry. Not that it's right or wrong, but it was just right for me.
Yeah.
And so my mom, you know, I came home, I told my mom, I'm like, yo, like change of plans possibly. I was planning on going to Florida. You know, this whole thing, this interview, something about this opportunity is pulling at my heart. I think it's real. I see people, you know, the opportunity to make some serious money, and the people that did my interview, I had a really good connection in my spirit. And my mom was like, you know what? You're young. Give it 1 year. And this way you have no regrets. And so if you believe in it, I support you. Give it 1 year. If your life don't change, then you'll have experience, and we could go ahead and pick up where you left off with the real estate thing. But if it's pulling at you, do it. You know, give it a shot for a year. And a year later, and this is in 2006, a year later, that year I made $187,000 in the insurance industry, which was more money than I ever thought I would ever make as a kid. You know, when I was coming out of college, and I'm thinking of my vision. You know, my vision was to work in the union. I was going to be, you know, in the United Auto Workers Union, and working for General Motors outside of Youngstown, Ohio was the vision. Because my uncle, that was the only person that I saw in my family that ever had like new shoes on his kids, and I would get their hand-me-down clothes. And, you know, for those of you that can't see me and you can only hear me, you know, his son was like 6'2", and I'm not even close to 6'2", you know, so I'm 5'6". And so I had to rock some of his hand-me-down gear, Jordan gear and all that stuff. And so I'm like, man, that is the person that always seemed like he had enough money to afford things. That's what I want to do to provide for my family. That was as big as my vision could really see. And, you know, when I talk about that and you rewind the history of the upbringing, you know, my mom, single mom, had me at 19. I met my dad for the first time as an adult. They tell me I met him once before we went to Venezuela. So my dad's 100% Venezuelan, was not born in America. And my mom is Italian. And so they met in college. My mother's roommate was from Venezuela, and that was her brother. They end up getting married, had me young, and he disappeared. And so I actually ended up meeting him with my wife for the first time at 28 years old in Miami at our company's convention. And so just the absence of a father in an environment, you know, like Youngstown, which, you know, we sold our house for $11,000 going into my senior year of high school. And, you know, I tell people it's not like this. I had a very weird internship of life, because I remember clearly years of standing in food bank lines and at welfare lines with my mother, car, plastic bag in the back window, sound like a shotgun went off, cars stalling all the time. You know, I have those memories. But then there was a couple of years before I went into high school, my grandmother, my grandfather, my grandmother's husband, my mother, everybody pitched in, and they get me into a Catholic school. So I went to a Catholic grade school for a couple of years. I went to public school for a lot of the years, and then I got dripped into a private Catholic school a couple of years in Youngstown. And then I go to this, you know, heavy sports based Catholic school in Youngstown, Ohio, always has powerhouse elite, you know, sports teams. And I end up going there for high school. And so in one token, I'm selling my house for $11,000, cars getting stolen out of the driveway, you know, arguments all night long, you know, people getting stabbed outside, friends that I grew up with, you know, all the whole same story that you hear of everything else. And then and then I have this other life, you know, where I'm meeting other people, and they got two parents, and, you know, these people are helping to rub off on me in the right way. And so I had that whole weird, wild experience where, you know, I got this, you know, intimate, close relationship with people in the streets where I grew up, and I was 100% comfortable in, and then got thrown into a completely different environment where I learned to also thrive and get comfortable in. And I think that built me up and gave me the experience that was necessary to not only go to college and thrive as an athlete, where I was a 4-year starter playing safety, strong safety, but really after that, it set me up for business, because this business, we end up working with blue collar people, middle income, which was my family and the people I grew up around. And then it's, you know, you see people having success in this business from all different walks of life, black folks, white folks, Hispanic folks, We got people, especially here in Chicago. I mean, you guys got the League of Nations, out there, and man, I love it. I don't care what background somebody is. It's just, man, we're all human, and that was kind of my experience and my upbringing, and so it brought me into this business. I was able to relate and attract talent from all different walks of life, and here we are. And I'll just say, for those of you listening, for those of you watching, I'm always kind of this ugly, but I'm extra ugly today with the I got a black eye. Okay, so excuse me. I was grappling on Monday, and I took an accidental headbutt. So my eyes, I got a black eye over here for those of you that can't see me. But when I got promoted, our company, our parent company is Globe Life, and Globe has the naming rights to the Texas Rangers Stadium. And we're also the official life insurance company of the Dallas Cowboys. And for all of Globe Life, just to put it in perspective, as far as I know, last time I checked the stats, we were the largest independently owned organization under the whole Globe Life umbrella, which, has more life insurance policies than any other insurance company that I know of. That's another statistic that we've heard, and that's been verified. So I don't know if that's changed since the last time I checked, but Globe Life had more policies. So just to put it in perspective, what they told me was I was the youngest owner in the history of the company to own a franchise or own an organization within American Income. And when Chicago opened up, I know this territory was going to be so special. I didn't want to let it pass us by. And, Tristan, is the epitome of when opportunity knocks, like, have your bags packed. So I called Tristan, and, I think Tristan was 21, 22 years old. How old were you? 21 years old. I mean, and I called him and asked him if he wanted to be my business partner and open up a business in Chicago. And real fast, things turned around, and not long after that, Tristan drops his life, and moves out to Chicago. And now I would say, in the company, and I only say top 5 just to reserve for what I haven't had an opportunity to see. But I would say this office right here in Chicago that you all are operating right now, Justin and Tristan, not only did I forfeit the term or of having the people say that I was the youngest in the history of the company, and I passed that on to you, Tristan, and now you are definitely the youngest in the history of the company to ever do that. But I would say your office and the energy that I've seen here is top 5 in the entire company from what I see. And I only say top 5 because I haven't had a chance to see the rest of the country, but I would probably say this is probably top 2 or 3 for sure in the country. And what's getting ready to happen here in Chicago is going to be special. And not only is it going to be special in production, but I think the things that's most special is, when I look back on my career and now I'm 40 and I'm 18 years in the game, I get more love and joy from watching people grow up in the business and do better in their personal lives than I do in watching them do better in their business lives. Because you could do good in your business life for a minute, but it's not going to last long if you can't do well in your personal life. And your personal life is always going to hand you adversity and obstacles for the rest of your life. And it's the way that you handle those that dictates the level of success that you're going to be able to have, and the people around you are going to be able to enjoy. Mm-hmm. And I think what you all are doing is taking the system that was given to me from Jim Surace and Marcus Smith, that is internal development and growth precedes external development and growth. And people see the external. When I pulled up with Perm today, and I seen the yellow bands out there. Who got the yellow bands?
Kevin.
Kevin.
Yeah, Kevin.
And Kevin, how old is Kevin?
20?
Yeah, 20 years old.
Yeah.
So 20 years old, he got this sick yellow. Yeah. What kind of Benz is that thing?
AMG GT.
Yeah.
Coupe.
Right. So I'm pulling in here, and I'm like, man, the thing that brings me joy is that I think that the majority of people here can handle the success because their stability is built on internal personal development. It doesn't mean that I'm perfect. It doesn't mean that you're perfect. There's nobody listening to this or doing this or watching this or playing a part in this that is perfect. But I think it's going to be, you're going to find it difficult to find people 20 years old, 22 years old, 23 years old, you know, like you guys have. Not everybody's like that, but those age groups and demographics, and pump multiple six figures into those people's life and watch them live the life like the people you all are raising in this business are living, where they're seeking out ways to develop themselves spiritually, and they're up working out, and they're reading books, and they're walking with humility, and they're getting out of nice cars, and they're still treating people good and walking with humility. And that's what I'm proud of. And that isn't me. That's Jim Serace. That started out with my mentor, passed that into me, and I've tried to pass that on to everybody. And not everybody takes the formula, but I'm grateful to watch you guys take that formula, because it's going to bring you the same joy that it's brought me. And the joy that it's brought me is I watch people come in here like you all watch people start young, and then I watch them walk down the aisle and get married, and it's like a blink of an eye. And I watch them pull up in a beat up car, and I watch them leave here and buy their mother a car and buy their father a car and take care of them and have a family and live this great life. And that was always the vision. And I think it starts out with the internal development, because a lot of people can't handle success. And that's where great teams get broken up sometimes. It's a lack of loyalty, or people start feeling themselves and they lose their sense of humility. And I think, you know, watching you guys continue to pour into people, you know, into their personal life is what makes this place special.
Absolutely. Fire. Before we flip back into some questions for you, Simon, what's your story real quick, Justin?
Yeah, so it's kind of crazy, but it was through Instagram. So my mom had made a new Instagram, because you know how like moms are.
We'll go a little further back too. What was growing up like?
Growing up, so Grand Junction, Colorado, small mountain town in the western slope of Colorado. Nobody's ever heard of it before. It's probably 30,000 people there. So me and Nate and John, of course, are from Grand Junction. So a couple people in the office, but small town, very conservative town. It's like a lot of farms, majority farms, mountains around, so people hunt, and majority of the attraction at Junction would be like the hunting and fishing. Yeah. That's about it. So, you know, growing up there it was all right. My dad and mom did well. They're still married. Never really like seen them struggle with anything. Yeah. So early on they put me into like almost every sport besides like wrestling and stuff. Yeah. My dad's not, he doesn't like wrestling.
Yeah, you don't like the idea of that. You
but
always make fun of jiu-jitsu.
Yeah. But I was playing football, like baseball, basketball. I played like soccer for a year. So I played a lot of sports growing up, and everything in my life was dictated. Like if my dad, like if I really wanted something, I would have to get like 10 tackles in a game or something. Like he would always put like a
commission. Put you on commission.
I remember like I always wanted a pair of like Kobe's or like LeBron's or Jordan's or something, and he would tell me like, yeah, you got to drop 15 points and get 10 rebounds, or if I wanted a new car, like he'd always tell me he'd buy me whatever car I wanted if I got straight A's, which obviously he knew that I wasn't gonna get straight A's. Yeah, that's why he said that. But or if I got like when I was in middle school or whatever, if I got an A, it was like $100, and a B would be like $50 or whatever. So like he'd always like put like a tier system on stuff.
Commission.
If I wanted it, I had to go out and get it, of course, whether it's through sports or school. Yeah. And then ended up going to college kind of against my will. Yeah. But again, I didn't really know what else to do, so I just enrolled. And after like 6 months, I found myself not really going to class anymore. And I was more so just in college.
Was it a community college, or were you?
No, Colorado Mesa University. So it's a D2 college in Junction, but it's real small. There's nobody there. So it basically could be like a community college. But just found myself not going to school, wasn't passionate about anything. I didn't know what I wanted to do. I met with the advisor, and I told them, they were like asking me what I like, and I liked like biology. So they like enrolled me into like biochem and biology and stuff like that. But again, I wasn't like the smartest, so they were speaking a bunch of gibberish to me. So I just was like, I'll just stop going to that. And then I completely dropped out, and my dad was like, all right, well, you got to work and pay rent now since you're not going to school. Yeah. And then ended up getting a job at a grocery store because like I didn't know what else to do. Yeah. Did that for like a year. That was like the worst thing on the planet. Yeah. So boring and just like not what I wanted to do.
Making muffins all day.
No, I was working in the back. But he always says I baked muffins. I never baked muffins. Yeah, but never baked a muffin one time in my life, and I never would.
I know. I hear your cooking skills.
Not that there's nothing wrong with baking muffins. He always
it's not for you.
Yeah, it's not for me. But yeah, and then
I give you credit for doing a year.
Yeah.
At the grocery store.
Yeah, I was working 4 a.m. to noon.
Okay.
So I was waking up early. I would set the alarm for like 3:15, get to the store, and there'd be like nobody in there. So like I wouldn't really do too much in the morning. It was like a grocery store. So it's like, what are they going to, they couldn't fire me. You know what I mean? So I was just like, I was like a young, like dumb dude, just like didn't really care about it, obviously.
Yeah.
But I was making like $400 a week, and I thought I was like rich.
Yeah.
I thought because like
that's how I felt at UPS.
Yeah, because it was my own money at that point. Like I didn't have to go to my parents for money, or I don't know. I could like go out and get it. So I was working like 35 hours a week, and I thought $300-400 a week was like crazy. And then I would work 4 to noon, and then as soon as I got home, I would just like sleep until like 6.
Yeah.
And then like I would wake up and hit the boys up and see like what we're doing.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? But yeah, I did that, and somehow ended up all the way in Chicago. Never been here before, but it was through Instagram. And I remember they were saying they would fly me out, and I thought I was gonna get like killed or something if I came out here. I didn't know what the intentions were. Yeah, I was like, all right, I guess I'll go out there. And then I remember it's probably on one of Tristan's grumpier days. It was like the day I showed up, because like I only talked to him for like 5 seconds, and he just basically said, "This is like the hardest thing ever, and like most people are soft, and I probably wouldn't make it," or something like that. So yeah, and he looked like
a pretty boy. What do you mean? I was like, oh god.
Yeah, he looked aggressive, and I was just like,
both your parents are together.
Don't know what this dude's on. So then I flew back, and I was like, I told my parents, I didn't even know what you guys sold, because Tristan was just like, "Yeah, this is hard. You're not gonna make it." Or whatever. But, I remember I talked to Rob, and he told me I'd be like Bill Gates the next year. He said I'd be a billionaire if I just worked here.
Overcommitting Rob.
Yeah. So I left thinking like, man, I'm gonna have a Lambo in a year. Like this is gonna be the best thing ever. So I went back and told my parents, and honestly, they just support like everything I do. So they were just like, yeah, you're young, just go do whatever. And if you fail, like worst case scenario, we'll fly out and like come get you or something. Yeah, but I had no money, so I came out here with like $1,000, and immediately I'd say sales clicked, because I never really had to like struggle to sell or to make a sale. But it's not like I was like super talented as a producer, or like I didn't produce like Connor did, or like Connor.
You always made $5,000 a month though.
Yeah, I was making like 5 to like a good month would be like $10,000, which I thought was crazy anyways, because I was making like $400 a week. So to make $1,000, $2,000 in a week was like crazy.
And
crazy.
how old were you when you came?
21, so now I'm 24.
Okay.
Yeah.
Old.
You got 3 years in?
I started, so yeah, I was like basically turning 22 when I started, but 2.5, yeah. And then, you know, over time, I saw a lot of people come into the agency and leave, but I would confidently say, even though I'm not like I might not be the greatest recruiter or the greatest producer, but I feel like I'm like Iron Man almost in this business, because like I've been through a lot of crap, and I feel like I've always like been the most disciplined with at least being in the office 8 to 9 every single day, and never missing a day, and making the calls and doing whatever Tristan said, if it was like recruiting wise or whatever. I feel like I can confidently say I might not be the best producer or recruiter or leader, but I'm the most like consistent for sure.
His manager was the individual where, for me, I think on a smaller level, on a micro level, it was like the that one guy that you had that tried to like just terrorize you.
Yep.
That was the guy that brought him in.
Yep.
And so we're going through the process of essentially he was getting terminated. He had him move 3 times. So in his first 3 months, I think he moved to Chicago, he moved to Arizona, he moved to Nebraska, and he moved back.
Unbelievable.
But I was making $1,000 a week,
and he was still making $1,000 a week.
It didn't matter to
That's
me,
fine.
yeah.
I'll move.
Yeah.
Make $1,000 a week.
I was like,
Kept
whatever.
moving, driving he had a 1986.
No, 2002 Toyota Tacoma.
2002
with
Toyota Tacoma.
260,000 miles. I didn't even think. My parents used to tell me, because we lived like 5 hours away from Denver, and I always wanted to go to Denver, and they're like, yeah, your truck won't make it. But somehow it made it across the country like 3 times.
Yeah.
I don't know.
He'd tell me, I'd be like, all right, head back. He'd be like, all right, I'll let you know if I make it. I'm like, I'll see you if you make it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So crazy.
I remember in Arizona, I had to get an oil change because it like burns oil. And they never put the cap back on, like when they put the oil in. And I remember like I stopped in Texas to check the oil, and it was all over the engine bay. It was just shooting everywhere.
Yeah.
And I found the cap like lodged in the engine bay, and I had to like squeeze my hand in there and get it out. Thank God it didn't like fall out. I don't know how that didn't happen.
Did you get a new car yet?
Yeah, the Corvette, the 2002 or 2022 Corvette.
2002 Corvette.
Yeah.
He goes to the old man's Corvette
I like
club.
the Corvette.
Yeah.
You fit in the Corvette?
Barely, yeah. I'm screwed when it comes to sports cars.
What are you, 6'6"?
We measured actually.
No, he's
6'5.5".
6'5.5".
Yeah, but anyways,
I'm 6'1", man.
In life, I had no direction, and I wasn't gonna do what my dad was gonna do or what he was doing. So basically, if this didn't happen, I was gonna be screwed because
back to the grocery store.
Yeah,
Making
grocery
muffins.
store for life, for real. Yeah, screwed.
Wow, well,
Absolutely
that
screwed.
escalated quickly.
Yeah,
And the production,
And
because
you're killing it now.
yeah, through persistency for sure. Because
How about you're getting ready to go from 1,000 a week to 1,000 a day?
yeah, I feel like in July,
You're gonna make
yeah,
probably close to 365.
I'm already like almost there for the year.
Okay, so over
Yeah.
365.
Yeah,
But like in
400.
July, I was breaking it down because I made.
But that's
105.
1,000 a day, bro.
Yeah, 105,000
just
in
for
July.
a minute. Just for a minute.
It's like 7K
1,000
a
a
day.
day
Yeah,
from 1,000 a week.
yeah,
From $400 a week.
yeah,
From
like
1,000 a
400
month.
bucks a week.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Is sick.
yeah, no, it's definitely crazy.
Just persistence.
Yeah,
You think just being persistent, not
Yeah.
giving up, and just being coachable and showing up?
yeah, definitely. And then I don't know, just this whole experience because my parents were never religious at all, but there's like no way, like because I never went to church as a kid or anything, but I started because Tristan said to every Sunday, and I've never missed this. I don't miss Sundays.
you don't miss church. Even if
Yeah.
you do it somewhere else, you don't miss it.
Yeah, but it had to have been God for real because I would have been so screwed in life. Not the smartest, and in the beginning, like before this, I had like
Coachable
a
and consistency. will
terrible
get
work
you
ethic
far.
before this though. Like I just saw money and Tristan looked like he was living a good life, and I mean you never know with Rob, but at the time I thought because every day he would just tell me I'd be a billionaire. So I just was like, all right, man. I just had blind faith and started going to church, and definitely got a lot of faith from. It just had to have been God, honestly. There's no way.
Yeah,
Because through Instagram, it just doesn't make sense.
No.
Never been to Chicago.
I said the same thing
Yeah.
Simon said.
Grace of God.
Yeah, it's
When
insane.
somebody asked me this morning, he said, "What got you into the insurance industry?" And I said, "Man, God chose my path, man. I have no
Yeah.
idea. I don't know how I'm here. I don't know how we're talking, but had to have been God."
I didn't know what life insurance was.
From FedEx.
Yeah. So,
UPS.
UPS.
Yeah, FedEx is for softies. Let's jump into some questions for you, Simon. So I want to speak to the high school kid watching this right now. Maybe you're in high school and you're about to graduate, or you're in that junior, sophomore phase, and maybe you graduated high school and you're thinking like, I don't know if you felt like this, but I felt like I lost my identity in high school. Like I was never going to be anything because I saw money being made on social media. And I didn't know how to get to it because the demographic that we had, there was nobody making a bunch of money.
Oh, no.
And we were similar to Simon, food bank lines. And, you know, we weren't, I don't say poverty anymore. You know, my sister had to correct me on my embellishing of our story, but it wasn't a great upbringing, right? So you're a high school kid and you feel like, man, like life's flying by and you don't know what's going on. And you don't know if you're going to make it. You don't know if college is for you. You don't know if you're going to get the money. Did you feel like that?
Yeah,
in high
even
school?
because I would say we were middle class because my mom didn't work, you know,
Yeah.
so it's like
But you still had that feeling of being
But,
behind and like what's going to happen in life?
yeah, honestly, there was a point where I almost just accepted the fact that like,
Yeah.
I'm just going to have to work at a grocery store forever. Because like,
Did you have that feeling ever in high school of like, man, maybe I'm just never going to make it? I know I want to get rich, but I'm never going to make it. Did you ever have
especially
a feeling like that?
Grand Junction, like there's like, if you're successful, I mean, it's successful in America, but like 100,000, 150,000
Like a high school
years
life
the
crisis
most.
I had of like, man, I don't know if how am I going to make it? I'm going to have to just hit the streets. I tried that.
I knew I was willing to
sucked
do
at it.
whatever. I was willing to work like 100 hours, like
Yeah.
double time, whatever. I knew I wasn't going to be broke. That I knew I was not going to be broke.
Yeah.
I wasn't going to let myself be broke because I already
Yeah.
lived that life. I had an internship there and I didn't like it.
This
Yes.
business fixed my, I was lazy.
What would you
before this,
say
so.
to the high school kid that's having a high school life crisis and they know they're not going to let themselves be broke, but there ain't no avenue that's being exposed to them, no people, no right opportunity? What would you say to that kid right now?
I think, first of all, if they're watching as a high school kid, I think you're already, if you've made it this far watching this podcast, you already are probably thinking at a different level. It says that you want something more. There's a reason why you're inquisitive. You want to learn, stuff like that. It's not for everybody. When I say it, I know the advice is not specific to this industry, but I'm just saying whatever is your thought process, you got to know if you feel a calling in your life that you don't want to be average, that you want to be above average, then feed that beast and don't allow other people to talk you into complacency, because if you're in an environment of complacency or average, then most people are going to talk you out of greatness. Not all the time, but most people are going to talk you out of greatness. And so if you start thinking differently, you start thinking like the top 1%, the top 5% in the world, then the other 95% of people are going to be telling you that you're crazy. You shouldn't do that. You shouldn't move from Colorado to Chicago, or you shouldn't do these things. You shouldn't do that. So you're going to probably be, if you're on a path to get out of average, then it's the road less traveled typically. And then you got to figure out what your path is to greatness. Of not everybody's meant to do sales. Not everybody is meant to do leadership. Not everybody's meant to be an entrepreneur. But I would say what my mother told me I would give to you is, at the worst case, you're going to get a hell of an education. You know, if you get into an industry where you have good leadership. Like if I had a kid in high school right now and they didn't want to go to college and they wanted to come out and do something, the biggest thing that I would worry about is, number one, who's the leader that they're going to be exposed to? Who has influence over my child? Who is going to be pouring things into them? Because as kids get older, the influences around them make a bigger impact sometimes than their own parents at that moment of their life. It's their friends and the people that they spend the most time with. And so I would look at the leadership that you're going to be involved in. If you were my kid, I'm like, who's the leader? Who's the coach? Who's the captain? That's the first thing. Because if you can get around good leadership that can mold you into whatever you're going to do, whether it's staying in that industry or doing something else, that's the number one thing. But the number two thing I would say is, outside of that leader, is I would be focused on, is there a path to greatness? Is there a cap? If you're in your head, you're like, man, I want to make $500,000 a year. Well, do you see anybody that's doing that in the industry that you're looking at? Do you see anybody that's doing that? If you look at people that are already 20 years in that industry, that'll tell you a lot about what you can do 20 years from today. Look at people that are 10 years in that industry. That'll tell you a lot about what you can do, 10 years from that day. But I think the experience level, for me, if I'm coaching martial arts, I think everybody should wrestle. So if you want to do MMA, I think at some point you need to learn wrestling. So even if you don't want to be a wrestler, it's going to be great for you to learn wrestling. If you're going to be in football, I think everybody's, for speed, you should be working on your agility, whether it's gymnastics or you should be running track. I think in life, everything attaches to some form of sales. And even if you don't end up in that type of industry 2 years from today, it's going to drastically benefit you in whatever industry you go in. If you have a background in sales where you've learned sales, you got out of your comfort zone, you learn that. Even if you're an attorney, you're going to have to sell the judge. You're going to have to sell the jury. You're going to have to sell people to want to hire you. If you're doing nails, you're going to have to sell people on what color to pick or upgrade this package or to do it with you. Most of life, even when you're a parent, you're selling your kids on stuff. As a spouse, you're selling some. So I think having a base of sales and leadership, even if, and now I'm talking specifically about what we do, even if it ends up not being something for you, rather than working at a grocery store for 12 months, you can come here and work for 12 to 24 months. And when you go to school, typically you have to pay money. So if I'm going to college, and I'm not anti-college, I graduated from college. I'm just saying, for the kid that doesn't know for sure if they want to go to college, if you force yourself into a college education and it costs $40,000 a year to go there, and then you're not making any money, then you're at least negative $40,000, and that now you're starting to go in debt a little bit. But if you're able to work and you make $60,000, which I think would be okay, I think a little low if you're great at what we do, you should be able to do better than that. But let's say somebody makes $60,000 in a year, and then they save themselves $40,000 from not going in debt at school for $40,000 in a student loan. You actually made $100,000, right? Because you didn't go negative 40 and you went plus 60, you're plus 100. You go plus 100 4 years in a row, you got $400,000 that you would have gained or lost, versus somebody else that chose that route and they forced themselves into that and they didn't even end up doing nothing like that. Then they graduate and they find out there's no job waiting for me making $200,000 a year, $100,000 a year as soon as I graduate. Now you got 4 years experience. Because what I found when I was coming out of college is, even though I had a college degree, all the jobs that I wanted, that I thought that I wanted, that I'm glad that I didn't get, they all wanted 2 years experience, 2 years experience, 2 years experience. Well, how am I supposed to get experience if nobody will hire me to get any experience? And so I think at the worst case, you come into this type of a business or this business, you're going to learn sales. You're going to be mentored by good people, good young people that are going to impact your life, but you also get experience. And if it doesn't end up being a place that you retire, it'll end up serving as a launch pad, for you somewhere down the road. And so, and then the last thing I'll say for young people is I think the 20s, if you're 18 years old, you're very close to being in your 20s. I think your 20s are a pivotal moment for you in business to set yourself up for the rest of your life, that I watch a lot of young people flush down the toilet because they think they got all this time, and then they want to get serious. They want to have fun in their 20s and then get serious in their 30s. And by the time it's time to get serious, like, it's not too late, but the price became a little bit more because you're older now, and maybe now you want to have a kid, maybe now you want to have a spouse. So now you can't go hustle and move 4 times. You said you moved 3-4 times. You're like, hey, who cares? I'm making $1,000 a week. I'm making $1,000 a day. Let's get up. Let's move. Well, if you got a wife and 3 kids, it ain't as easy to say, let's just move 3 times. Let's move to Arizona. Let's move over here. Let's move over there. You don't have the luxury anymore. The flexibility and the freedom to grind and put everything that you got, blood, sweat, and tears, every ounce of your body, every ounce of your soul, 8 to 9, stuff like that. You got baseball games, football games, you got family parties, you got anniversaries, you got all these things. Your kids have things at school. You can't do those things all the time in your 30 without paying a huge price. And so I think the best time to pay your price is in your 20s. And I think too many people take that so lightly that they piss away the greatest years of their life that'll set them up in order to launch. And so I would tell the high school kids right now, this world is yours. The world is going to be young people. Every 5 years, this everything evolves, and the future is going to be you. And so don't think that you're too young. If you're old enough to fight for the country, 18 years old, you're old enough to start making a killing. If you're old enough to die for the country, you're old enough to make a killing for this country too. And people will knock, I know people will throw shade at us sometimes, where we'll have 20-year-olds driving Benzes and have it making nice, money. If they were 50, nobody would say a word. Well, why is it bad? Because they're 20. You automatically think that it's bad because they're 20, when we're doing a good thing for people and we're doing it the right way. And we make sure that they're going to do it the right way. And if they don't do it the right way, there's going to be consequences. But if they're doing it the right way and they're 20 years old and they're having nice things, how is it okay for me to send you to Afghanistan to lose your leg and die? And that's okay. But it's not okay for me to show you how to make six figures. Something's wrong with that. Something's wrong, right? Something's wrong with the way that people think. Something's wrong with the way that they project things onto people, because small minds will always have butt heads with people that have big thoughts, and big thinking people are always going to butt heads with small-minded people, because we speak 2 different languages and we see things differently. That's why I've always liked to mentor the youth. I don't like to mentor the youth because I want to take advantage of anybody. I like to mentor the youth because they're the most open. They got the most energy. They're open to coaching like that. They got energy and they got passion. They got their whole future ahead of them, and we can make real change. And so I would just tell those young people, like, don't let anybody get you thinking small, think big. You're about to be 18 years old. If you're old enough to fight and die for this country, you're old enough to make a killing and make your dreams come true too. And don't let anybody tell you otherwise.
That's fire. As we transition and we're almost an hour in, what would you say the characteristics are of individuals that just you've seen over the 20 years you've been in the insurance industry of, let's just say, life? 20 years of being an adult and seeing people fail. A lot of people ask, what makes people succeed? Everybody probably asks you that. What about, let's reverse engineer it. Because now if we can just cross-eliminate and just look at what should I definitely not do, and then everything else should probably lead to some form of success. Right. What would be your list? Are you talking to your kids, you're saying, like, if you do this, you will fail. Yeah. What would be that list of, here are the things that are definitely going to make you fail?
You know what I always taught you was the biggest 3 threats, to your success, and was always going to be, and it's not just because I'm talking to 2 young men, I'm gonna use women, but if I was talking to 2 women, I would say men. I think, we always talk about if there's 3 ways that you can have success and have it snatched, from you typically, and number 1 is your ego, your ego gets too high and your head gets too big, and typically pride comes before the fall. And I think that's a constant battle. You can be humble. You could be humble 12 months ago and not be humble today. You could be humble today and not be humble 6 months from today. So I think it's a constant battle and a constant challenge, because you also need a certain amount of ego and a certain amount of assertiveness and aggressiveness in order to win and succeed. You know, if I walk into a boxing match and I'm walking out there all humble and meek, and I'm going to get my head knocked off. Nobody's going to give me a belt because I'm humble, right? You got to be a warrior. You know what I mean? You got to be a dog. But it's the way after you get that belt strapped around you, how do you treat people after that? What are you thinking of yourself when you look in the mirror? Is it, I'm the man, I'm great, I did all this, I'm the best, you owe me everything, I deserve everything I got? Or am I looking in the mirror and say, man, you're so blessed that even somebody like you with all these flaws, all the things that you've done wrong, all the stuff that you've gone through, God or somebody could bless you with an opportunity like this. I'm called to inspire other children. I'm called to inspire other people. And it's all about the spirit that you do those things with, but you still got to assert yourself to win. And so I think people struggle with humility because they get confused, because you'll see people assert themselves and win, and they'll either assert themselves and win and then they end up falling in other areas of their life, or they assert themselves to win, but you don't see how much humility that they actually even carry themselves with. So I'll give you an example of, like, I've been in some VIP situations where some of the cockiest fighters in the world, you know, and even I guess I consider them, you know, friend is a strong word, you know, but somebody I have a good relationship with, like Cody Garbrandt, you know, that, you know, former UFC title holder, won a UFC championship title at 25 years old. And, you know, he's young. When you got that, you're going to make mistakes and stuff. But, man, I mean, super cocky in the ring, you know what I mean? Super cocky in the octagon, you know, and showboatish and all that stuff, but also showed a lot of humility, man. Drove all the way out to my youth program in Youngstown and didn't owe me anything, and, you know, stuff like that. So I think you never know what a person's walking, what type of humility that they're truly walking with versus what you see on a TV screen to sell tickets.
That's fire.
But humility. And then the second thing is drugs and alcohol.
Yep.
Overdoing it. You know what I mean? So it's like, oh, you say drugs and alcohol, and last night I saw you at the Capitol Grill and I had a glass of wine. Yeah, I had a glass of wine. I didn't have 7 glasses of wine. I didn't, you know, lose my mind. Not to say in college I never did it or I never drank something or something like that, but it's the drugs and alcohol can get people in trouble. And then, you know, I say women or men, you know, people of the opposite sex can make or break you.
Relationships.
They can make or break you.
Yeah.
Like Justin, I think it'll make you. I think you got a great one. I've told you that a gazillion times.
Yeah.
Sitting here or not sitting here, like that can elevate a person. That makes a person better. But the same could be true, and I've seen, you know, more rest in peace situations, RIP graveyards from these situations than positive of, man, the opposite sex, I watched just ruin this person's life. I watched this guy just ruin this girl's life or ruin this man's life, because you can end up connected to that person for the rest of your, you know, rest of your life. So I'd say those are the key 3 things, you know, that I see that makes people, you know, fail, was usually attached to one of those 3 things. Very rarely is it something that's like, man, completely out of your control. But you could look at, you know, you see these things going on right now in Israel where, you know, somebody was just chilling there and the next minute somebody bombed your building, you know what I mean? Bomb something, and your family goes from, you know, like, what's a real problem out here, Justin? You know what I'm saying? Like, is it a problem that we didn't get enough codes, or is it a problem that, like, imagine if our mother didn't know how they were going to, like, put a roof over their head because somebody just blew the top off this building and the government's in shambles right now because we're at war. You know what I mean? That's a real problem. And so sometimes things will happen and they're out of your control, but it's more rare. Most of the time things are in your control. And if something happens to you bad and it's a failure, or you fall due to something that's not really completely in your control, now it swerves to what is your response to that thing. And most of the times, if you lose something and it's out of your control and it's not due to one of those 3 things, you end up getting it back tenfold. And that's the come up story of, you thought it was something that hurt you, but it was actually really something elevating you if you allow that to be an opportunity and a bridge to take you to where you're really supposed to go.
Yes, sir. Yeah.
Fire. That like you said, the power of the mind, and negativity is just a disease in your mind and it's absorbing your thoughts. But the winners that have positivity, and they're looking at Simon and they're looking at Justin and they're thinking, if they can, I can. If he did, I will. And I want to inspire and influence, hopefully leveraging these guys' stories for you to reach out, not to us, but to somebody, to something, to God within, and find that thing within you that's just ticking and telling you need more, you deserve more. And I promise you do, and you can get it. So the last thing I would like to wrap up with is, what are you most excited about for the next 5 years? What is keeping you going? You know what I mean? 40 years old, giving me a run for my money, giving all these 20-year-olds, anybody. I'd put you in a room with UFC fighters, and I know you're going to get a good workout in. You know what I mean? And they ain't going to look over and be like, wow, this guy's definitely some bum off the street. You know what I mean? It's going to be like, oh, keeping up, you know? So what are you most excited? What's getting you to keep going?
Man, I think what I'm most excited about, I'll give you the cushy feeling one that's very true, is I look out and I see such young talent in our organization. And I know what somebody, when people ask me about the youth program, why did you do that? I felt indebted to my city that I went out and was successful somewhere else and never came home and did anything else because people helped me. And so in this business, I had a couple men, particularly, one man that helped me a lot internally. And it made me, I don't think I would be married. I don't think I'd be a good husband. I don't know if I'd be a good father. And I don't think I would have been able to maintain and keep the success if it wasn't for, Jim Serace and what he did for me. And so Jim is now, mid-60s. And I look at myself and I'm 40, and then I look at some people that I'm mentoring in this business right now and they're 20 and I'm 40. So it means when they're 40, I'm going to be 60. And I know the difference that Jim made in my life. And it's like, man, that's going to be so cool that I can make a difference in these people that are 22 years old, 20 years old, 25 years old, and watch that whole thing play out. I feel like I owe it to the game. I feel like I owe it to the company. That makes me feel good, and not just to take, but to leave something behind. And so that's really that's the one thing. I've always publicly made a promise to people of like, man, if I can't give you my best in my position that I'm at in leadership due to the law of the lid, where I think I would stunt other people's growth. And I've watched a lot of people do that. I think they've milked the system. They don't quite retire, but they just kind of making money and not growing and not pouring into people and all that stuff. I think it's selfish as shit to do. I could be sold, on, hey, I worked this hard. It's my business. I built it. Why can't I just chill out and make some money? I don't have that feeling. I feel like I owe so much to the people that choose to put their life on the line and say, I'm going to do this for the next 5 years of my life. I want them to get the best of me. And so that keeps me motivated. And then as a competitor, what I know is we're going to triple what we're doing right now in the near future. I think it happens in less than 5 years, less than 60 months. You could buy a car today. By the time the car is paid off, I think we're going to be doing ridiculous things that you guys have heard me talk about. And when I look at that, what else will keep me going is being a competitor. We're not number one in all of Globe Life. We're number two out of all the agencies and all the organizations, all the things that spread around Globe. And so I'm grateful for that we're not number one, because I got somebody to chase. We have somebody to chase. And it's not that I want anything bad to happen to that person or to those people at all. I want us all to win. But if we're playing sports or we're doing something and I'm playing against you, you should want to beat me just for the sake of it, right?
Yeah.
And so I think just as a competitor, what'll keep me going and what keeps me going is I'm grateful that we're not number one, that we have somebody to chase, that we can go after, and it'll keep us youthful and keep us pushing and keep us aggressive in our pursuit to greatness. So that's what keeps me rocking and keeps me going.
Let's go. 11:52.
Okay.
Get a quick bite in and head to the airport.
Let's do it.
Another episode of Adversity Kings. We thank you guys so much. DM these two if you guys want. Simon's media team might be able to get a hold of you. Justin don't got a media team yet, but you could DM Simon Arias. You can DM Justin Maska. You can reach out to me as well, Tristan Dlabik. So have a great day, y'all.